Hi, this is Bill Whitley. I'm a sports pilot CFI. We're here in front of the plane talking about flying in general and talking about flying the Challenger 2 behind me in specific. It is not intended to be a lesson to teach you how to fly or a substitute for you, if you're interested in flying, to getting direct instruction from a qualified instructor, a CFI. Hi, this is Bill Whitley. I'm here with my student Noah. And I'm a CFI in both airplanes, single engine airplanes, and in weight shift aircraft. And Noah and I have been working together for over a year now, I guess. Noah, I wanted to ask you, first of all, what were you thinking about when you thought about, I'd like to get a flight instructor to help me learn to fly? And what were the considerations you had in selecting a flight instructor?
Well, going back to when I started this whole journey, I was really surprised at how affordable the Challengers were. Yeah. My uncle has one, and I always just kind of considered it as unattainable. And I started perusing the internet one day and saw one for sale, and it was a lot more reasonable price-wise than I thought it was going to be. I started looking into getting one and talked to my uncle about it, and he suggested talking to a flight instructor, and I started looking, and I called Dennis Carley. He had a website online, and talked to him about it because he was the closest one that I could find, and he suggested you and gave you as a reference, and you happened to be a lot closer to me, to where I lived, so I came down and did a flight and went home and sprung it on the wife that I'd done it.
Yeah.
And told her, I was having a midlife crisis and had to buy an airplane.
Yeah, gotta get their flying time in, right?
Yeah, so everything's been downhill from there, just kind of slugging along at it. I have a young child, so it's not going quite as quickly as I'd anticipated as far as getting a license, but I think I'm kind of to the point now where I'm about to do my check ride and be done with it.
All right, you have
on my own.
Family life, you got to do that. You have work life. I know you're a medical professional, and you're able to do a lot of these things, and then the hobby, avocation, aviation's kind of on top of all that, right?
Absolutely. Kind of back burner, really, to family life and work life, but I try and bring it to the front as much as possible.
Okay.
It's reasonable.
Okay. You already have some aviation background. Maybe some of our viewers, maybe they've never, really flown a small plane before, or maybe they're not parachute artists like you are. What kind of things do you think that would be important to look? What would people look for in terms of finding a flight instructor? How will they go about doing it? What do you think is important factors in that?
It's probably the biggest thing would be looking for somebody that you feel comfortable with, somebody that can make you feel safe in the airplane, make you feel like the things that you're learning are helping you grow as a pilot and helping you be more comfortable and more in control of the aircraft. Really, safety is a big issue, as you kind of talked about a little bit earlier with stacking the deck and having an instructor that's able to teach you in a method that makes you the safest pilot you can be the number one goal in what I would say.
Okay.
As far as finding a flight instructor, and then being able to get along with, and you're going to spend quite a bit of time learning from, and it doesn't do you any good if you guys are not compatible as friends.
Banging heads or something.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So kind of all of the above, but it's definitely good to kind of shop around a little bit and make a few phone calls. It doesn't take any time to make a phone call and talk to somebody, and I'm kind of the opinion, if they're not willing to talk to you on the phone, they might probably not being that willing to teach you either. So have a conversation over the phone. It doesn't take anything, a couple pennies to make a phone call. So.
Right. Now, in flight instructors, of course, I'm a light sports CFI. So you may go to a flight school and they have a bunch of Cessnas out on the line. They may or may not be interested in the light sport end of it we're talking about. So you might have to search around a little bit.
Absolutely.
EAA has a site It's the Experimental Aircraft Association has a site which lists instructors, and they give their phone numbers and their emails and so forth. You mentioned Dennis Carley. Dennis is a friend of mine, a guy I work with. He's down in DeLand. He builds the Airlight 103, great little plane. And these planes here, the Challenger 2, are good transition training for the Airlight 103. Let me kind of go into a little area about a technique that I use in training, and you can feedback, and you can kick me if you want to. Everybody's got different personalities, and one of the things I like to do with students, of course, is to challenge them. But what I'll do is kind of is set up a scenario or talk about an aspect of it, and we're going to talk about stalls in just a minute. And then I'll say, well, what do you think about this? And then kind of force you to think through and verbalize what you think about stalls, for example. Has that been an effective technique in working with you, or has it been kind of irritating, or what?
No, not at all. I have pretty thick skin as far as things go, so there's absolutely not much you could say to offend me, but I don't think that, I think you've been more than conscious about how I felt about learning and making sure that I was comfortable and making sure that I was actually getting something from the training and kind of reinforcing that. One of the things I found for me, just I have concepts in my head, but actually verbalizing those concepts and talking about the stall, since we're discussing stalls, is a lot different than just having it in your brain, and getting it out in the open and getting it out in the air where you're talking about it is a lot more educational than just kind of having it stuck in your brain and you have this opinion or that opinion about it.
Forcing you to think through and verbalize
absolutely
the various factors that are involved in it, right?
Sometimes what you have in your brain and what comes out of your mouth isn't the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, I think that'll wrap it up for this section, and we'll talk about another item in a little bit here. Hi. A lot of times I'll get calls from people or emails, and they'll say, well, what book do you use, or what should I read, and so forth. And I just want to go through a couple of things that if you're going to take flight training and learn how to be a pilot, that you'll want to look at. The fundamental textbook that we use in the flight training here is the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. It is an FAA publication. You can buy it at bookstores. You can also go to the FAA website and look up manuals, or just Google in Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, and you can get it right on the internet for free as a PDF. So it covers really all the basics that you need in terms of the knowledge of aerodynamics, weather, a lot of the regulations, and all those kinds of things. And it's just a good book to have and a good primer. So if you're thinking about becoming a pilot, or if you're going to be taking flight lessons, this is a good book to have and read. Another thing you'll need if you're going to take one of the exams, or where I fly in airspace in America, is the FAR AIM. That's Federal Aviation Regulations Airman's Information Manual. It's an FAA publication, and it has the federal regulations regarding flight and air safety and pilots and airports and all that kind of thing in here. And you'll do it. If you're going to become a sports pilot, there's a special section in here on sports pilots, and you'll see it in there. And it's a good idea just to read through all that section. The second part of the book, the AIM, is the Airman's Information Manual, and it's a detailed accounting of a lot of the technical things we are involved in aviation. It'll cover things like airport signs and how airports are laid out. It covers a lot of information about weather and radio communications and things like that. So this is another textbook you'll have, and it comes out annually. Every year they'll do a new edition. One of the fundamental things we have to have as pilots and know about are what kind of airspace we're in and where airports are located, and information about the airports, including the length of the runways and the orientation of the runways, radio frequencies for the tower, and if there's not a tower there, what is the Common Traffic Advisory Frequency, CTAF. And we'll find a lot of that information in the sectional charts. And the FAA publishes these about every 6 months. They have an expiration date on them. And they're divided up around the country by the major city that's in the section. We're near Jacksonville, Florida, so this is the Jacksonville sectional. And it's something you'll have and read. It opens up And you can see then the chart for the area, and it might look kind of confusing at first, but as you look at it and study it, you'll start to see a lot of information about it. Along the edge, if I can find it here, they have an explanation, a legend, and it talks about what all these symbols mean. Airports and radio towers and all kinds of things there. So you'll read the legend, go through it, and then look at the map, and you'll start to get an idea. And it'll be confusing at first, but if you go through it and look at it, you'll start to pick up and see how you can use that information when you're doing a cross-country flight and flying around. Another item, and this will be the last one I'll show you here for this, is it used to be A/FD, but now they call it the chart supplement. What this is it's a table, a book, with all the public airports in your area. This is for the southeastern United States, and again, they're published every so many months. And so if you want to know more detailed information about an airport, let's say you're going to fly to St. Augustine, and you want to know if they have any fuel there for your airplane. You can look up the St. Augustine Airport, and it'll give you that information, the length of the runways and radio frequencies and all those kind of things. So the chart supplement, it supplements the sectional chart, is another book you'll want to have, and as you get into your flight training, you'll use.